So today I'm going to explain the five key components of language structure: phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. So first, phonology is about the sounds of language. It studies how we make and combine sounds. This is important because it helps us understand sounds and helps us speak clearly and understand others when they talk. Morphology focuses on parts of words, like prefixes and suffixes. It shows us how words change and new form meanings based on these different changes. This helps us build vocabulary and understand how words are related to each other. Syntax is the set of rules for putting words together into sentences. It makes sure that our sentences are organized and make sense, which is essential for clear communication between others. Semantics is dealing with the meaning of words in the sentences. So this helps us understand what someone is actually saying or writing, which is key for effective language use and comprehension. And then finally, pragmatics is about how we use language in social situations. This includes things like tone, body language, and knowing what's appropriate to say depending on the context. This helps us understand and communicate well with others. Together, these five components help us understand and use language for speaking, reading, and interacting with others.
Orthography is the essential components that all work together in the system that leads towards written expression, written words, and just overall communication. But in terms of written expression, it relates mostly to punctuation, capitalization, spelling, letter formation, and all the things that work together to create fluent sentences that are effective and that students are able to comprehend. As students become more familiar with this, they can effectively decode better and they can just learn how to read on their own, write on their own, and whatever it may be. Orthography is also closely connected to the five components of language structure. In terms of phonology, it works by linking the letters together to create a combined word. This could be, for example, if you're using the word sh, that it will learn how the S makes a specific sound and the H makes a specific sound, but when they're put together, it makes a sh sound. For morphology, it preserves meaningful words parts such as prefixes, suffixes, and also the root words. As an example for this, students will learn how when they hear the word un as a prefix, they know that means not. So like unhappy, they means they're not happy. Orthology also reinforces syntax because syntax is when they're learning how to do proper capitalization, proper punctuation, and all the things that works together to create a form sentence. Semantics correctly is showing how students can correctly make sense of a sentence and they can just learn how to connect the words and spelling correctly to make it more clear and make the understanding more comprehensible. Lastly, as for orthography, it helps to support pragmatics by helping writers use appropriate conventions for different audiences and purposes. So, such as if they're using referring to their parents, they know how to refer to them, or if they're referring to somebody that's higher up, they know the proper form that they should use. Together, we should work with our parents to learn how to teach them this in the household just to help with comprehension, help with fluency, and then ultimately just when our students go out into the real world once they're older and whatnot, they know how to use all these systems and components together to effectively be able to write emails, whatever it may be, or whatever, but ultimately just help them in their early days of education.
Amy Moon, and I am here to talk about phonology and morphology. Phonology and morphology are the systems of language that deal with sounds, called phonemes, and words, called morphemes. When we talk about a child's ability to recognize, isolate, and manipulate sounds and words, we use the terms phonemic awareness and morpheme awareness. Phonemes are the sounds we use when we speak. There are approximately 45 phonemes in the English language. For example, k and ow are the two phonemes that make up the word cow. Children learn phonemes without even realizing it when they are listening to the people speak around them as they are listening to talk. Children will learn that letters, called graphemes, represent these sounds as they are learning the alphabet. To support the development of phonemic awareness, parents can play games like I Spy, where we can substitute colors for letter sounds. For example, I spy something that starts with the sound S. It is also important at an early age that children are read aloud to. especially stories that contain rhyming words. Parents can also sing songs or listen to songs like Down by the Bay, where children are actually manipulating the phonemes within the song. Morphemes are the smallest part of a word that have meaning. A morpheme can be one syllable, like the word cat, or it can be more than one syllable, like the word cover. Prefixes and suffixes added to a root word are also morphemes because they have meaning on their own. For example, the prefix un means not or the opposite of. The suffix less means without. Morphemes are the building blocks of words and help children read more challenging words and also help them know how to spell words. Parents can support morphemic awareness through play. They can have conversations about what's happening during play. For example, one might say, "You have one doll, I have two dolls. Do you hear the sound s at the end of dolls? That means I have two dolls." And you can equate that to other objects you're playing with and practice the skill of adding this sound to the end of a word to change its meaning.
Hello, my name is Megan Swanson, and I am here to continue presenting reading components and their examples. So we're going to start by looking at syntax, which deals largely with word order and structures. It's why Yoda sounds strange to English speakers, for example, because they can recognize that unlearn what you have learned, you must is not a typical arrangement of words. Syntax dictates the order of words, but appropriate syntax alone cannot lend a sentence meaning. For example, turning the drinks milk cat to the milk drinks cat might have put the nouns and verbs in approximately the correct order, but what this sentence means remains vague and muddy at best. This is where semantics comes in. Semantics allows the reader or listener to evaluate and interpret syntactically correct structures for their coherence and meaning, or in the prior example, lack thereof. It's also why a sentence like "only John eats hot sauce" might be understandable, but "John only eats hot sauce" makes English speakers very worried for John's well-being. That's all semantics at work. The placement of objects, subjects, verbs, and modifiers within a sentence can make, break, or fundamentally alter its message. Pragmatics is all about meaning, but this goes beyond raw dictionary definitions. It extends to synonyms and near synonyms with different connotations, like the explosive exuberant and its quieter cousin content. Both can mean happy, but each word conveys its own distinct sense. Similarly, for singular words with multiple meanings, semantics can help the reader or listener discern whether the topic of discussion might happen to be a romantic get-together or a sweet pitted fruit. This can be a crucial distinction to make when someone asks, "Hello, would you like a date?" Lastly, semantics also makes idioms and metaphors possible, allowing the listeners in the room to understand that when someone is about to bite the bullet, they don't need to have a dentist on speed dial. Rather, the person is simply about to force themselves to complete a task that they've been dreading. Thank you.